What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyMovieGuy.com, my favorite blind film critic, and today we're saying goodbye to The Handmaid's Tale. Oh God. Yesterday I had the season finale of The Last of Us, and today I'm having the series finale of The Handmaid's Tale. I'll say one of these things I liked, and the other thing I did not. So you figure out which one. Think in this moment as I introduce you and ask you to click like and subscribe, because praise be. Praise be. It's this one. I like this one. Uh, it's not perfect, but that's finales are so hard. Series finales are so hard to land right because fans have expectations going into them, and creators have an idea of where they want the show to go, and they've been on a journey the whole time. And depending on how much of a stick in the mud you are, which is kind of what's happening in Blast of Us, where they're like, by God, we're going to do it our way, whether anyone likes it or watches us or not. We're just going to keep doing it. Fuck everybody. Handmaid's Tale has evolved over time and has brought in all these characters and sort of really enriched the world in and around Gilead. And so really, I mean, it's been a while since Fred's dead at this point. And now we're left with June. And we saw the incident in episode 9, which as soon as I saw the episode, I let my friends, my social media friends, I was like, watch Handmaid's Tale before it's ruined for you. Please do not ruin it for anybody. So episode 9 I thought was far more emotional than 10, just in terms of having the gut punch. 10 doesn't really have a gut punch. So 10 tries to appease and also tie up the story in a way that they want to. I'm surprised they didn't go for a longer episode. It's an episode that feels like it really wanted to be like a 90-minute series finale, but Hulu said no. It's very weird. Feels like that they're kind of rushing through points, and there's a lot of summarizing. It felt very sort of fast paced compared to where we were. We were slowly building the story. We didn't know what had happened to Aunt Lydia or Janine, and they have to wrap that up. That was kind of clunky, if I'm being honest. Janine just kind of gets dumped off. Lydia, we don't know anything about Gilead or the workings between America and Gilead at this point, and what they had to trade to get Janine. But not only did they get Janine, but they get Charlotte at the same time. I guess I always forget her. I forgot her name in the last recap too. It's funny when you don't like a character, you're just like, I don't want to remember you. But Lawrence's wife brings Charlotte and gives Charlotte back to Janine, and Aunt Lydia is there for the exchange, and you're like, what is happening? What is this and why is this? There really isn't any rhyme or reason given to it, and we don't really spend any time with Janine afterwards. And Charlotte, we don't have time to spend with them. So there's just this like odd scene where they're like, well, for the fans, we have to make sure we resolve Janine's storyline. So it's resolved. Janine's alive. She's in America with Charlotte. Cool. But how? Mark just kind of grabs June and is like, I need a friendly face. And like takes her. And I'm like, where? It's like, is this Hannah? Did they get Hannah? What? No, it's Janine. And I'm like, oh, but how? And why? Because it's like an official like prisoner transfer. And it's like, did they trade somebody? Mark doesn't really explain how this came to be. But he does earlier in the episode explain that they were in contact with Aunt Lydia, who I guess both Aunt Lydia and Janine had been taken by the eyes, and Lydia had been set free, which is weird. It's so weird after what Aunt Lydia said and called them godless men, uh, that she's just now part of Gilead again. It's not, this is so rushed. I'm telling you, this finale felt like, I think they made like a 90-minute version of it, and Hulu just said no. I was like, no. no, you're going to get your hour. And they're like, but we have to make things make sense. We have to be able to explain. And they're like, no, you don't. It's our fans. It's a series finale at this point. Who cares? And it's like, I mean, I think the audience probably is going to want some sort of closure slash resolution or for things to make sense. That would be my guess. But I got to move on from Aunt Lydia and Janine. But that seems so frustrating. But also, I loved it because I was like, yes, that is what we need. But make it make sense. Like, tell us how this came to be. It almost would have been if you knew that it's so nonsensical that it's like if you knew that that was what was going to happen, then why bother? Like, why not just have Aunt Lydia be the one who is taken and not Janine, and have Janine already with America, and you sent soldiers to Lawrence's house, which is how you got Serena. So shouldn't you have also gotten Naomi? I remember her name. I always remember her name later on. Shouldn't you have grabbed Naomi and gotten Charlotte at the time? You could have resolved this all in episode 9, so you didn't have to have it in 10. So it was just sort of like natural, like, oh yeah, Janine's here, and well, we got Naomi, so they could have just shown a shot of Janine in the background playing with Charlotte, and it's like done, resolved in episode 9, because that made sense. That's how Lawrence knew to come there, is because there were people that were posted up at his house where Naomi lived. Why wouldn't they have just taken her? It's so weird. This is so weird. So this is what happens when I think they had to hack this up. I think they had to hack the finale down to the size, the original length of. This is not like a super long episode. And June has a ton of exposition on like where the future of this goes and how slowly they get the states back and they're working towards getting Colorado, which doesn't even make any sense because that's how the episode opens. And she's telling it from a future perspective. And she's like, Kansas fell, Iowa fell, New York. She's talking about like how they got, and then they cut back, and then so like Luke is still talking about how he has to go help. Like he leaves to go help Mayday in New York, which in her talking at the beginning of the episode, she's already alluded to the fact that New York is free, and that the other states are free, but we see a flag of a new America that's only 3 stars. So they haven't gained all those states yet. So it's definitely like her telling you where this is all leading. So she talks about, and it's headed towards Colorado. But then we learn that it doesn't matter because Hannah's not in Colorado anymore. So because they took out like most of the commanders, they had to pull in more. So DC recalled a whole bunch of commanders from other places, including the one uh, that Hannah's, I don't know, owner. I don't really want to use the term father. I guess quote unquote father uh, he's a high commander, and so he gets sort of a promotion to DC. So his family moves with him, which includes Hannah, to DC. She's not even in Colorado, so the whole thing that she says about Colorado at the beginning doesn't make any sense. Halfway through the episode, that's what I'm saying. Like this episode feels like somebody took a chainsaw to it, and like it was meant to have more in it, and it was meant to have more explanation, but they didn't have time. Somebody just was like, no, you don't get your long. Why'd you write a longer episode, dumbass? You're supposed to ask first. Um, yeah, it's just so while I like the finale because there are some things that it does, I didn't need her to. I think it's actually kind of clever that she goes back and she's like getting into the fight and she goes up to her old house where she started. She goes up into the room. She's sitting there, everything's been destroyed. She sits on the windowsill and she starts recording. But what does she start saying? But she starts saying that beginning text from the pilot, which is how the book starts, The Handmaid's Tale. So it's her sort of recounting, and you realize that's how The Handmaid's Tale gets written and why the finale is called The Handmaid's Tale. So, is because she's now recounting the whole story that just happened. But obviously, there's going to be something with Hannah. I've definitely seen. It was one of the major entertainment, like Entertainment Weekly, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. Somebody did an interview with Elizabeth Moss where their clickbaity title was Elizabeth Moss says goodbye to The Handmaid's Tale for now. And I'm like, ooh, for now? Are we gonna get her? Is she gonna come back? We revive everything now, so this would not surprise me at all if in 5 years we revived Handmaid's Tale. We're currently working on that I know of. They didn't let SWAT die, so Shamar Moore is doing a SWAT. What is this? A SWAT. I can't remember the name of it, but he already is in the Straits of series order to keep the SWAT franchise alive. Zach Braff just signed on to revive Scrubs. We're reviving King of the Hill. We're reviving. I mean, there's so many shows that are in the process of coming back from the dead that are out there already. That the for now really doesn't even surprise me anymore. So, so yeah, I guess for now, maybe June will be reunited with Hannah later on. I guess we're just left to assume that at some point she will. The Testaments takes place 15 years later. So I'm kind of hoping not then, because I'd really love for June to not be 15 years later. She's being reunited with Hannah, who's like 30 at this point. Um, but the only person confirmed to return for the Testaments is Ann Dowd as Aunt Lydia so far. And that's shooting, and it's supposed to premiere next year. So they're working on the Testaments, which is the follow-up series to The Handmaid's Tale, which stays in the world of Gilead, but takes place like a generation later. We'll see how that pans out, and if the new cast can live up to the old one. I liked this finale, I just didn't love it. It wasn't like it didn't need to be perfect, though. It has perfect moments. It has little moments like with June and Holly. I liked that moment. I thought that was nice, where she's sitting there and she's having this little moment about, no matter where I am, I'm always with you. And we got that flashback, which I thought was a great flashback, because it's crazy to think about that mothers have that moment all the time, where like a kid just wanders off for a few seconds and they just like lose their mind. I mean, nothing had happened to her. Hannah was fine. She just wandered over to a thing. It's funny. It's funny how Hannah interpreted that as you left me or you lost me or something. It's like, no, girl, you walked away. Like, are we really that dumb as children? Anyway, so she walked over to look at a merry-go-round, to stare at a merry-go-round. And yeah, meanwhile, June's just freaking out. She's like, oh my god, Hannah. And it's like the simpler days, right? Where your kid would just kind of wander off, and maybe you had to worry about them being abducted, but like 9 times out of 10, your kid just, I don't know, found a squirrel and chased it. So, and then you get reunited, and it's that panic, and you realize that June has basically been living that this whole time. She's been living in a heightened state of, where the fuck is my kid, for years upon years. So, and it's still unresolved. It's still this unresolved thing that she's had to kind of box up so she can continue to do this. I also really like this TV show too, because June, instead of sort of selfishly only doing this one thing, I realized The Handmaid's Tale is a perfect representation of why A Working Man is an awful movie. I know, we're in the weeds. I'll take 2 seconds to explain this. So Handmaid's Tale has always been about June and Hannah, but the whole process along the way, June has helped literally everybody that she possibly can. I mean, she has episodes where she puts her life on the line for other people who are not Hannah. Realizing that could stop her journey to saving Hannah, she has tried to rescue everyone humanly possible, and trying to set as many women free, as many kids free, get as many people out of Gilead as humanly possible, because she sees the horrors around her, and it's not limited to, where is my daughter? So A Working Man is literally just Jason Statham is now made aware of the fact that there's a sex trafficking ring, but really only rescues the one girl he's required to rescue and does nothing else. It doesn't stop or free any other girls, or no, this is the one girl. Whole film could have been stopped if they had just. Whereas with June, you kind of feel like because that's what she's doing with Holly at the end. It's like she has Holly. She could choose this life, but she doesn't have Hannah. There are still things. Gilead still exists. And so she goes right back into the fight because it's not done. The fight isn't over. So she's talking about all the other little girls that she has to save. And I believe that for June. I believe that even if Gilead tried to placate her by giving her Hannah, that June would still be in this fight somehow. I don't know if she'd be risking her life and limb every day while Luke is also trying to do the same thing, and then they have 2 kids. I don't know if that, but I think she would still be going to Mark every single day and being like, where are we at? And working behind the scenes. Like, she would be doing something to continue to dismantle Gilead and not just walking away like, well, I got what I wanted. Thanks. Bye. Um, so it's not a perfect finale. We get Serena and she's off in like a refugee camp, and then they're like, well, this refugee camp isn't made for kids. And it's like, do we not have kids? Do we not have any refugees with kids? At all? What a weird thing. They're like, oh, we're probably gonna have to move you. It's not meant to have. Really? Like, that's the hot take? In a world that is desperate for children, the refugee camp isn't. Anyway, it's not a dog, man. It's just America. My favorite moment of the episode. I'll leave you with my favorite moment before we leave. I like the audio description, by the way. Of course, it was brilliant. But um, there's the exchange between June and Mark, and it's actually kind of chilling and also hilarious at the same time. Where she's kind of saying, he tells her that she can go back to her old house, and that the sector's opened up or whatever, and he's like, use my name. And she says, oh yeah, Captain, and whatever, I don't know, whatever his real last name is, not Captain Mark, but Captain, I don't know. And he corrects her and he goes, it's actually Commander. And I was like, ooh, ooh. It feels like, I don't know, man, it felt like both. It felt like kind of hilarious, but also like, oh man, history repeating itself. It's a man who really wanted to be called Commander. Like, I mean, sure, we've learned to trust Mark, but so anyway, those are my thoughts on Handmaid's Tale's finale. I think I don't think I can give this like the A grade or whatever. There's a lot of I like about it. Some of it is rushed. It should have been a longer episode. It didn't need to close. I didn't need it to solve everything, but it also doesn't need to. It feels very clunky at times, where it just kind of is getting like it's rushing from to the end. And there's problems that could have solved by putting them in other episodes, or never having introduced the problem to begin with, like with Janine. She never needed to be on the other side. We never needed that scene to ever happen. There was nothing that ever required it. All you had to do was just write it so that she was already there. You had it set up. I actually assumed she was. The thing about being blind is, unless the audio description brings it up, I don't know. So I learned in the previously on that that they came and got Lydia and Janine, and that they had Lydia and Janine and we didn't have them. I just thought we had Lydia and Janine. I didn't realize anybody had taken them away. Why? Why? What was the point? What was the point? So June could say goodbye to Lydia? What? I have no idea what the purpose was, instead of just letting Janine go with America, and then Naomi, because Lawrence went to his house. Why wasn't Naomi taken by America? Why didn't they already have Charlotte? This is such a bizarre choice. So I'm gonna give The Handmaid's Tale finale a B plus. It's a higher grade than I gave The Last of Us. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.